Growing old in Hollywood is brutal. The world stops loving you, the roles disappear, and the mirror becomes your worst enemy. Once upon a time, they were gods and goddesses, gracing magazine covers and ruling box office charts. Now, they're cautionary tales. Today, we reveal what happens when time catches up with the stars who thought they'd stay young forever. Mickey Rourke. Mickey Rourke's life is a wild ride full of highs and lows. He didn't plan to become an actor. In 1971, he had to quit boxing after a concussion. By chance, he joined an acting class and found something new he loved. Hollywood quickly noticed his intense and raw talent. His big break came in 1982 with a movie called Diner. People loved him as the smooth and charming Boogie Sheftel, and this launched his career. In the 1980s, Mickey was a huge star. He acted in hit films like Rumble Fish and The Pope of Greenwich Village. Then came 9.5 Weeks in 1986, a movie that made him a sex symbol. His chemistry with Kim Basinger was electric, and the film made over $100 million. But it wasn't just about looks. Mickey proved he was a serious actor with Angel Heart in 1987, where he played a private detective in a dark, gritty story. Critics loved his acting, but the movie's controversial scenes made people talk about his bad boy image more than his talent. But fame came at a price. By the late 1980s, Mickey got a reputation for being difficult to work with. He turned down big roles in movies like Rain Man and Platoon. By the 1990s, his off-screen drama was making more headlines than his acting. Then, in 1991, he shocked everyone by leaving Hollywood to become a professional boxer. Between 1991 and 1994, he fought 8 matches and won 6. But the fights left him with serious injuries. His nose was broken, his ribs cracked, and his face was badly damaged. Mickey's looks changed a lot because of his injuries and the plastic surgeries he had to fix them. But the surgeries didn't turn out the way he hoped. By the late 1990s, when he tried to act again, people barely recognized him. He had small roles in movies like The Rainmaker and Buffalo 66, but he wasn't the star he used to be. In 2005, Mickey made a big comeback with Sin City. He played a tough, unforgettable character named Marv, and people loved him again. But it was his role in The Wrestler in 2008 that truly brought him back. He played an aging wrestler trying to hold on to his past glory, and it felt real because it mirrored Mickey's own life. He won a Golden Globe and got nominated for an Oscar. Even with his comeback, things weren't perfect. His roles in big movies like Iron Man 2 and The Expendables didn't bring back his old magic. By 2025, Mickey is still acting, but mostly in smaller films. Meg Ryan. In the 1980s, Meg became a star with movies like Top Gun and Inner Space, but her role in When Harry Met Sally in 1989 made her America's sweetheart. People loved her sweet, relatable charm, and her famous scene in the diner became iconic. In the 1990s, she ruled romantic comedies, starring in Sleepless in Seattle and You've Got Mail. She worked with Tom Hanks in both movies, and their chemistry was magic. These films made hundreds of millions of dollars, and Meg became one of the highest-paid actresses in Hollywood. But Meg didn't want to be stuck playing the same roles. She took on more serious parts, like in When a Man Loves a Woman, where she played an alcoholic mom. These movies showed her range, but they didn't connect with audiences the way her romantic comedies did. Then, in 2000, her personal life made headlines. She had an affair with Russell Crowe while still married to Dennis Quaid. The public turned on her, even though Dennis had been unfaithful too. Her image as America's sweetheart was shattered. As Meg got older, Hollywood offered her fewer roles. Romantic comedies were changing, and younger actresses were taking the parts she used to play. She tried to reinvent herself with movies like In the Cut, but it didn't work. Around this time, her appearance also changed because of plastic surgery, and people criticized her for it. The girl next door charm that made her famous seemed gone. By the mid-2000s, Meg's career had faded. Her last big movie, The Women, was a flop. She stepped away from acting and directed her first movie, Ithaca, in 2015. It got mixed reviews, but it showed she wanted to grow beyond acting. In 2019, she admitted she felt burned out and had lost touch with herself during her fame. Now, at 63, she lives quietly and rarely appears in public. Val Kilmer. Val Kilmer got his first real break in the 1984 comedy Top Secret. It got some attention, but his big moment came in Top Gun, 1986. Playing Iceman, the confident fighter pilot, made him a huge huge star. The movie was a massive hit, earning $350 million worldwide, and Kilmer became one of Hollywood's most popular stars of the 1980s. In the 1990s, his career soared. He played Jim Morrison in The Doors, 1991, a role that amazed everyone. Kilmer sang the songs himself and spent months living like Morrison to prepare. People were stunned by how much he looked and acted like the rock star. He followed this with another iconic role as Doc Holliday in Tombstone, 1993, delivering sharp lines with charm and a southern accent. When he played Batman in Batman Forever, 1995, the movie made over $336 million. But behind the scenes, things got tough. Kilmer was known for being hard to work with, and this began to hurt his career. Even with this reputation, Kilmer gave great performances. In Heat, 1995, he acted alongside Al Pacino and Robert De Niro in one of the best crime dramas ever made. But as the 2000s came, Kilmer's career slowed down. His movies didn't do as well, and his reputation made big roles harder to find. Still, he kept working, appearing in over 50 films from 2000 to 2020, showing how dedicated he was to his craft. In 2015, Kilmer faced his toughest battle. He was diagnosed with throat cancer. At first, he kept it a secret, but in 2017, he opened up about it. The treatments, including surgery and a tracheostomy, changed him. His voice, once a signature part of his acting, was damaged, and his appearance changed too. Fans who remembered the handsome star found it hard to recognize him. But Kilmer didn't give up. He used technology to keep acting. For Top Gun: Maverick 2022, AI helped recreate his voice, letting him return as Iceman and reunite with Tom Cruise. It was a powerful moment, connecting his past success with his current fight. Now, at 65, Kilmer continues to inspire, but not much active in the industry. Melanie Griffith. In the 1980s, Melanie became a star with her fearless performance in Body Double, 1984. While the movie wasn't a huge hit, it became a cult favorite. Then came Working Girl, 1988, where she played Tess McGill, a secretary fighting to make it in the corporate world. The movie earned over $100 million, and Melanie won a Golden Globe and got an Oscar nomination. She was at the top of her game. In the 1990s, she starred in movies like Pacific Heights, 1990, and Shining Through, 1992. But as time went on, she was often cast in roles that focused on her looks rather than her talent. Her third marriage, to Antonio Banderas in 1996, brought stability. They became a Hollywood power couple, even working together on Crazy in Alabama, 1999, which Banderas directed. As she got older, Hollywood's obsession with youth hit hard. Melanie turned to cosmetic procedures to maintain her appearance, but the results drew criticism. Her changing looks became tabloid fodder, and it hurt her career. In interviews, she has admitted regret about these procedures, wishing she had aged naturally. In 2017, Melanie revealed she had been living with epilepsy, a condition that went undiagnosed for years. This health struggle was another reminder of the hidden battles actors face. Now, at 67, Melanie's career has almost hit the brake. Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp got his first acting break in the horror movie A Nightmare on Elm Street, 1984. Then came 21 Jump Street, where he played a young undercover cop. It made him a teen idol almost overnight. But Johnny didn't want to be just a pretty face. He wanted more. He began picking unusual roles, ones that made him stand out. His partnership with director Tim Burton started with Edward Scissorhands, 1990, a movie where he played a lonely man with scissors for hands. This role showed he could play quirky characters perfectly. Over the years, he and Burton made more strange and magical films together, like Sleepy Hollow and Sweeney Todd. People loved Depp for his ability to disappear into these roles and make them unforgettable. But the world really noticed him when he became Captain Jack Sparrow in Pirates of the Caribbean: The Curse of the Black Pearl, 2003. Jack was funny, weird, and nothing like any pirate people had seen before. The movie was a massive hit, and Jack Sparrow became his most famous role. Johnny's unique performance reminded people of legendary stars like Errol Flynn. It turned into a billion-dollar franchise, and Johnny became one of the most popular actors in the world. By the mid-2000s, he was earning $20 million per movie. Films like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and Alice in Wonderland were huge successes, and Johnny was at the top of his career. But fame comes with challenges. As Johnny got older, his good looks began to fade. His struggles with alcohol and drugs started to show. By 2016, photos of him looked nothing like the Johnny people remembered. He was bloated, tired, and seemed broken. Then came his very public divorce from Amber Heard. The allegations of abuse from both sides turned his life into a scandal. Disney dropped him from the Pirates movies, and Warner Brothers removed him from the Fantastic Beasts series. The man who had once been unstoppable was suddenly losing everything. Johnny fought back with a defamation lawsuit against Heard in 2022. He won, but the trial exposed ugly details about his personal life. People saw more of Johnny Depp the person and less of the actor they loved. In 2023, he tried to make a comeback with a movie called Jean du Barry, but when people saw him at Cannes, they noticed he looked older and tired. At 60, Johnny Depp's story is about rising to incredible heights and then falling hard. He's now trying to find his place again. He's exploring music and directing, but Hollywood is a tough place for older stars. Lindsay Lohan. Lindsay Lohan was born on July 2nd, 1986, in New York City. She started her career at just 3 years old, appearing in commercials and working as a model. Her big break came at 11, when she starred in Disney's The Parent Trap, 1998. She played twins, and her performance was so good that everyone noticed her talent. This success led to more Disney projects, like Life Size and Get a Clue. She became a young star on the rise. In the early 2000s, Lindsay transitioned into teen roles. She starred in hits like Freaky Friday, 2003, with Jamie Lee Curtis, which earned over $160 million. But it was Mean Girls, 2004, that made her a superstar. The movie became a cultural phenomenon, and Lindsay's role as Katie Heron made her Hollywood's it girl. By her late teens, she was earning $7.5 million per film, which was a huge achievement for someone so young. She even started a music career, releasing 2 albums that were commercially successful. It seemed like Lindsay had it all, but her life started to spiral as she got older. By her 20s, Lindsay's personal struggles became public. She faced legal problems, went to rehab multiple times, and gained a reputation for being unreliable on set. Her once bright career dimmed. Movies like I Know Who Killed Me flopped, and her image took a hit. Her hard-partying lifestyle also started to affect her appearance. By her mid-20s, she looked much older than she was, with tabloids constantly commenting on her puffy and tired look. Lindsay tried to make a comeback. She starred as Elizabeth Taylor in Liz and Dick, 2012, but critics didn't like it. At 27, she went to rehab again and filmed a documentary series with Oprah Winfrey to show her recovery. But instead of reviving her career, it showed how much she was still struggling. Over time, Lindsay moved away from Hollywood. She spent time in Europe, opened a nightclub in Athens, and even started a beach club in Mykonos. At 37, Lindsay is still trying hard to rebuild her career. Macaulay Culkin. Macaulay Culkin was born on August 26, 1980, in New York City. He became one of the most famous child actors of the 1990s. His big break came when he played Kevin McAllister in Home Alone in 1990. The movie was a huge hit, making $476.7 million around the world. It turned 10-year-old Culkin into an overnight star. Because of his amazing performance, Culkin was nominated for a Golden Globe at just 11 years old. He was the youngest actor ever to get this honor. The movie's success led to a sequel, Home Alone 2, Lost in New York, in 1992. For this movie, Culkin was paid $4.5 million, which was an unbelievable amount for a child actor back then. Between 1990 and 1994, Culkin was in many hit movies. He played a sweet boy in My Girl, 1991, a darker role in The Good Son, 1993, and starred in Richie Rich, 1994. At the peak of his career, he was earning $8 million per movie, which was unheard of for someone so young. But being famous wasn't easy. In 1995, when Culkin was 14, his parents had a big fight over his $50 million fortune. This legal battle, along with the pressure of being in the spotlight, made Culkin step away from acting. For almost 10 years, Culkin stayed out of the public eye. In 1998, he married actress Rachel Miner when he was just 18. but they split up after 2 years. When he returned to acting in the early 2000s, things didn't go as planned. His role in the 2003 movie Party Monster was praised by critics, but it didn't bring him back to stardom. He also acted in small films and stage plays, but nothing matched the success of his childhood roles. But people struggled to see Culkin as anything other than the boy from Home Alone. Axl Rose. Rose is best known as the lead singer of Guns N' Roses. He helped create some of the greatest rock music of the 1980s and 1990s. In 1987, Guns N' Roses released their first album, Appetite for Destruction. At first, not many people noticed it, but songs like Welcome to the Jungle, Paradise City, and Sweet Child O' Mine became hits. The album sold over 30 million copies and became the best-selling debut album in U.S. history. Rose's unique voice, which could go from a growl to a high note, made him stand out. Songs like November Rain showed his emotional range. In the early 1990s, Guns N' Roses went on their Use Your Illusion tour. The tour lasted over 2 years and became famous for Rose's unpredictable behavior. He often showed up late or left the stage early, which caused riots. But the tour was a big success, earning $56 million. By the mid-1990s, the band started falling apart. Most of the original members left, leaving Rose as the only one still in the band. He spent years working on a new album, Chinese Democracy, which finally came out in 2008. It cost over $13 million to make and took 15 years, making it one of the most delayed albums ever. Critics liked it, but it didn't sell like the band's earlier work. As Rose got older, fans noticed how much he had changed. In the 2010s, pictures of him looking heavier went viral, leading to mean jokes and memes. In 2016, at 54 years old, Rose reunited with Slash and McKagan for the Not in This Lifetime tour. It was one of the highest-earning tours ever, making over $584 million. Rose also performed with AC/DC that year, proving his voice was still strong. Brigitte Bardot. Brigitte Bardot started as a ballet dancer, but soon became one of the most famous actresses of the 20th century. Her life changed at 15 when she appeared on the cover of Elle magazine in 1950. This caught the eye of a young filmmaker, Roger Vadim, who later became her husband. He helped her get into acting, and she made her first movie, Le Trou Normand, in 1952. But it was the 1956 film, And God Created Woman, that made her an international star. The movie shocked people with its bold scenes and her carefree performance, but it also made her a symbol of freedom and beauty. In the 1950s and 1960s, Bardot acted in many films that highlighted her charm and looks. She was nicknamed BB and became a global icon. Her movies, like La Vérité, 1960, which got her critical praise, and Le Mépris, 1963, a French new wave classic, showed her talent. She also influenced fashion by popularizing the bikini and inspiring the Bardot neckline, an off-the-shoulder style. In 1970, she became the model for Marianne, the symbol of France. Her fame was unmatched, but being so famous wasn't easy for Bardot. She struggled with the pressure of always being in the spotlight. On her 26th birthday in 1960, during the filming of La Vérité, she attempted to end herself, showing how much fame had affected her. By 1973, at just 39 years old, she decided to retire from acting. She left behind the glitz and glamour of Hollywood and found a new purpose. Nick Nolte. Nick Nolte's big break came in 1976 when he starred in the TV series Rich Man, Poor Man. He played Tom Jordish, showing he could play both young and old versions of the character. This role launched his career, and in the 1980s, Nolte became a big Hollywood star. He acted in movies like 48 Hours, 1982, with Eddie Murphy, and Down and Out in Beverly Hills, 1986, where he played a homeless man. Nolte was known for his dedication to acting, often transforming his body and appearance for roles. In the 1990s, Nolte's career reached its peak. He got his first Oscar nomination for The Prince of Tides, 1991, and gave memorable performances in Cape Fear, 1991, and Lorenzo's Oil, 1992. In 1998, he was nominated for another Oscar for Affliction, playing a troubled sheriff in what many consider his best role. But while he was successful, Nolte struggled with addiction. His problems with alcohol and drugs became public, and in 2002, he was arrested for driving under the influence. The wild mugshot from that arrest became infamous. Despite his struggles, Nolte kept acting. In 2011, he earned his third third Oscar nomination for Warrior, proving his talent hadn't faded. As he got older, Nolte embraced roles that reflected his age, like playing a former president in the TV series Graves, 2016 to 2017. He didn't try to look younger and avoided plastic surgery, instead taking on roles that matched his rugged appearance. Nolte experimented with health treatments to stay active as he aged. He wrote in his memoir about trying things like human growth hormone, HGH, and vitamin therapies. Years of intense acting and past substance abuse had taken a toll on his body, and he had hip and knee replacements. Nolte joked about becoming a bionic man, but kept working. At 84 years old, Nolte is still acting, though less frequently. Kathleen Turner. In the 1980s, Kathleen was one of the biggest actresses in Hollywood. She starred in hit movies like Romancing the Stone in 1984 and its sequel, The Jewel of the Nile, in 1985, both with Michael Douglas. Her performance in Romancing the Stone even earned her a Golden Globe Award. She was also amazing in other films like Peggy Sue Got Married in 1986, which got her an Oscar nomination, and The War of the Roses in 1989, a dark comedy that showed her range as an actress. One of her most famous roles wasn't even on screen. In 1988, she voiced Jessica Rabbit in the movie Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Her line, "I'm not bad, I'm just drawn that way," became unforgettable. What's even more incredible is that she recorded her lines while she was 9 months pregnant, proving how dedicated she was. In the early 1990s, Kathleen took on new challenges. She starred in V.I. Warshawski in 1991 as a tough detective and played a wild character in Serial Mom in 1994. But her life took a hard turn. In 1992, she was diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis, a painful disease that made it hard for her to move. The illness and the medicine she took caused changes in her appearance. People in the media started making cruel comments about her weight and looks. Kathleen didn't talk about her illness at the time. Instead, she let people think she had a drinking problem because she believed that would be easier for Hollywood to accept. Even though this was a tough time, Kathleen didn't give up. She turned to theater and started performing on stage. In 1995, she made her Broadway debut, and later she acted in famous plays like Cat on a Hot Tin Roof and Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, earning Tony nominations for her amazing performances. Theater gave her a chance to shine in a new way and reminded people how talented she was. Kathleen kept exploring new ways to connect with audiences. In 2018, she published a book about acting to help others learn from her experiences. She also created a one-woman show called Finding My Voice in 2017, which allowed her to perform in a personal and intimate way. Gary Busey. Gary Busey became famous in 1978 for playing Buddy Holly in the Buddy Holly Story. His performance was incredible, and he even sang all the songs himself. This role earned him an Oscar nomination and made him a star. In the 1980s, Gary appeared in many successful movies. He played the villain, Mr. Joshua, in Lethal Weapon in 1987, and this role made him known for playing intense characters. Other hit movies he starred in included Silver Bullet in 1985, Predator 2 in 1990, and Point Break in 1991, where he played a funny and likable FBI agent. But everything changed on December 4th, 1988. Gary was in a terrible motorcycle accident. He wasn't wearing a helmet and suffered a serious brain injury. He was in a coma for weeks and had to relearn basic skills like walking and talking. Many people believe this injury changed him forever. After the accident, Gary returned to acting in the 1990s. He was in movies like Under Siege in 1992 and The Firm in 1993. He showed he could still act, but his behavior started to seem unpredictable. He also struggled with drug addiction, which became worse over time. In 1995, he had a cocaine overdose, and this pushed him to start fighting his addiction. As the years went on, Gary's roles in big movies became less frequent. He started appearing in smaller films and on reality TV shows. In 2008, he was on Celebrity Rehab with Dr. Drew, where he talked about his struggles with addiction and his brain injury. His behavior on talk shows and in public became more and more eccentric, and people started focusing on that instead of his acting. Gary leaned into his unusual reputation, taking cameo roles that made fun of his personality. In 2012, he wrote a book called Buseyisms, sharing his unique way of thinking and making sense of the world. But in 2022, he faced new trouble when he was accused of sexual offenses advances at a film convention. He denied the accusations, but it added more controversy to his story. His story is a reminder of how life can take unexpected turns.